This is Scott the Fix-It Guy. Today we have an LG washing machine drain pump that is no longer working, and we're going to get the dryer off first by taking one of these recycling bins from out in front of the house and bringing it in front of the dryer. So I'm disconnecting the dryer, unplugging it, turning off the gas, remove the vent tube, and then I'll remove the gas line. Make sure again you have the gas turned off. And then there's just a couple of screws on the front that we have to remove that hold the bracket that are holding the bottom feet of the dryer in place. So we're going to zip out that little Phillips head screw on the left. There's one on the right. The one on the right's kind of in a tight spot, so I'm using the angle tool to get into that screw. Once you remove those two screws, you can just pull this metal plate off, and then the dryer will slide towards you. So you can get a person to help you lift it off, or you can put the recycling bin in front of the dryer, and then you can grab the dryer, pull it towards you. Here's the part number for the new drain pump. These LG drain pumps fail all the time. They're just not very well made, but they're pretty cheap. You probably get one for about 25 bucks. So the new one should have kind of a ratcheted feel to it when you spin it, like there's a magnet connected to it. So I'm taking the recycling bin, I'm going to put it right up in front of the dryer, and then I'll open the door, I'll grab the dryer, and then pull it toward me. And again, you may have to lift a little bit because the feet might grab onto the top of the recycling bin. But it's pretty easy, and it does have wheels, so it's easy to wheel it away. Just make sure that it's really well supported before you try to move it, because these dryers are kind of heavy. You don't want them to fall on you. You don't want them to fall off to the side and damage anything. So I got the dryer pulled onto the recycling bin, and then I'll just pull the recycling bin away from the washing machine. And again, because it has wheels, it's pretty easy to pull away. Be cautious that if you have a wooden floor, that recycling bin may actually scratch that floor, so just maybe protect the floor or make sure that the bottom of the bin is really clean. So we've removed the top panel now and the front panel, so we're going to now drain out any water that's left out of this little drain tube. You can use a cup or something, and then when you're done filling it, you can put the plug back in and then do more draining. So I'm pulling the two hoses off of the drain assembly. There's a big black one that goes between the tub and the drain, and then there's a smaller gray one for taking the water out. There's also on this model 3 10mm bolts that are holding the drain assembly to the frame, and I've got those 3 loosened. Here's one right here. You can see it in the left-hand corner of the drain assembly. It's a 10mm. There's 3 of those that you have to loosen to get out. And then once we have this assembly out, all we need to do is take a Phillips head screwdriver and zip out 3 screws that are holding the drain motor onto the drain assembly. So I'm going to zip those out. And on this model, you could just remove the pump at this time, but there's kind of the frame holding it in place. So there's also one more screw to remove on the bottom to give you more room to work. You can loosen it at this point, but it probably won't come all the way out. So we undo this one little Phillips head screw at the bottom, and then you'll be able to pull the drain motor off. There we go. So there's the drain assembly. We're going to make sure it's nice and clean in there. There's nothing still caught in there that's causing trouble. So here is the old one, and this impeller spins freely, and it shouldn't. It should have more of a little bit of a magnetic feel, like it'll turn. Here's the new one. Turns, then it won't turn, then it turns, and it won't turn. Here's the old one. It just spins freely, so it's no longer really connected to the motor shaft. We're going to pry off this protective housing with a standard head screwdriver off the old one, and then we'll just slide that over onto the new one. locks into position. We'll grab this new motor assembly and we'll put it onto the drain assembly. You'll notice that it's going to be at somewhat of an oblique angle, about 45 degrees. And we're going to push it in. It has little plastic lugs that'll lock it into place. Push it in pretty hard, and then you'll add the 3 Phillips head screws to hold it. So put one right here, at kind of the top of it, and then 2 at the base. And these are the ones that are holding the drain motor on tight to the drain assembly. So you want to get those snug and then make sure they're pretty tight. Don't over tighten it because it can strip because it's just going into plastic, but where it feels pretty tight. There we go. We'll add that little Phillips head screw back on the bottom. And then we're putting the power leads back on. So we want to get those on really snug. And now we're going to put the whole thing back into position. You can kind of push the tub out of the way if it's in your way because it's spring loaded, it can move. We're going to feed that tube back through the frame. That's the drain tube. There we go. We're going to kind of get everything back into position, and we'll take the gray drain tube, and it has a green rubber boot that fits onto the drain assembly, and we'll go ahead and put that back on. Just push that on. We don't have to put on the clamp yet, but we'll just push it on. And now I'm adding those 10 millimeter bolts back in. There's 3 of them. There's one on the right hand side in the front, one on the left hand side in the front, and then one in the middle on the back. And I'm going to use a little angle tool to get in there with my 10 millimeter socket. Tighten those up. On some LG machines, there's Phillips head screws that go in the front that hold on the drain assembly. This one has the 3 bolts that hold it down. So now I'm tightening the one on the front left. It's a 10 millimeter socket with an extension and then the little angle tool to get me in there. You could use a ratchet, would work fine too. And then we'll do the one in the back. Just tightening the one in the front left. Then we'll do the one in the back. Okay, now I'm putting on the black tube. That's the one that goes between the tub and the pump. Get that into position, and I'll grab a pair of pliers and I'll grab the spring clamp to depress it and then gently get that back over that black tube. You want to make sure that that clamp's on there nice and tight and that tube cannot move. And then we'll do the same for this green rubber boot that's hooked to the gray tube that brings water away from the washing machine. I'm going to depress that clamp, get it down near the base, nice and tight. So we have our connections all done. We've got the power connections, we've got the tubes back on, we've got the bolt secured. We're just putting the front panel back onto the lower clips. We're just going to set it on those clips, and then we can hinge it forward. And we'll put in some screws now to hold it. One of them is at the bottom just one little Phillips head screw holds in the bottom of the front panel. And I think there's 5 or 6 here at the top. So zip these in. So these LG machines are pretty good, but they really have a problem with these drain motors just don't last very long. So you may have to end up doing this a couple of times in the span of when you own the machine. So now we're going to put the control panel back in. We're going to just set it down into the little plastic lugs at the bottom, and at the top we'll push it in until it clicks. It'll click in over the frame, and then there's some screws that hold it in too. There's 2 long stainless steel Phillips head screws that hold in right here in the front of the detergent tray. These are the longest screws on the whole machine, so you know you got the right ones. And there's a little one here that holds in the front right corner. We're going to put in this little door for the coin trap. It has 2 Phillips head screws that hold it in. Go. So next thing is we're going to put on the front of the boot, get that secured again. We're going to pull it out at the 12 o'clock position and start feeding it over that metal rim, just kind of like 1 inch at a time. Use your 2 thumbs, get it all the way around, and then we'll put on the big spring clamp to hold it. And usually what I like to do with the spring clamp is put on some type of lubricant like dishwasher soap or any kind of liquid detergent, hand soap, makes it slippery. So we're going to put that all around the metal, and then we'll put the clamp on at the 12 o'clock position. We'll pull down and out. And you may need another set of hands to do this. You could also use a standard head screwdriver to help kind of pry the bottom part all the way over. So that's on. Put the detergent tray back in. All right, we got it plugged in. We're going to just give it a little test, make sure the drain's working.
We got it.
And it did great. So we'll go ahead and do the rest of the reassembly. I'm going to put the top panel on, and there's a couple of Phillips head screws in the back put on.
Do it all the time though. You'd be like, oh, this isn't so bad. You can kind of do it half asleep.
I remember
There's one there, back left, and back upper right. Get those tight. So we're wielding the dryer back into position. Going to get the dryer gas line on there. Plug it back in. Going to tighten up that gas line really tight. Turn the gas back on. Get everything in position. And now I'm pushing the dryer back over onto the washing machine off of the recycling bin. And then I'll put the little brace on the front and we're done. Hope that's been helpful to you and you get your machine going. Please subscribe when you get a chance. Thank you.